everyone, welcome back. I'm Eric. Today I'm going to talk about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, part of this Blu-ray collection right here. This film was released in 1989, and it was directed by Stephen Herrick, written by Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon. So this was a time travel movie. Bill and Ted, played by Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, two slacker high school students who dream of becoming rock stars. A lot of Van Halen references in this. Like, we're really getting into the late 80s, metal, hard rock era. Definitely on the soundtrack of this film. I was looking at the soundtrack, and it kind of tells me, I feel a lot of these are really specifically dated at that time. Like there's Extreme, Tora Tora, Shark Island, Big Pig. Shark Island has two songs on the soundtrack. Power Tool, Two Heads Are Better Than One. So a really hard rock, late 80s soundtrack to this movie. It's fairly well known. Like I said, it's a time travel movie. Bill and Ted have to pass their history exam, or they have to get an A+ in their history exam, or else they will fail school and they will never form, the greatest rock band of all time that will save the world. So George Carlin comes back from the future playing Rufus, and tells Bill and Ted, they have to pass their history exam, and they have access to this time machine where they can pick up all these historical figures, and that's it's a fun movie. It's a good natured movie, and I remember watching this. Like I said, I would have been 10 or 11, and it might be the first time like you're introduced to some of these historical figures that they meet, like Sigmund Freud or Socrates or Genghis Khan, Joan of Arc. So it's a lot of fun. They go back to these different time periods and pick up these characters. I think most of the humor still lands pretty well for the most part. Of course, Keanu Reeves would go on to a huge career. Alex Winter as well. He's had a good career as a filmmaker in his own right. So they're really good natured, and it is interesting by the end of the decade how good times, good natured these films are, compared to earlier in the decade. But yeah, a lot of good humor throughout this. It's a very quotable movie in a number of levels. I think the whole idea, looking at Bill and Ted as characters, just kind of like these, wise fools who are sort of, they don't know much about history. They don't know much about anything, but they have this boundless optimism and good hearts, right? That they can do the right thing and bring back everyone for their history exams. I mean, there's just a lot of good gags in the movie with Napoleon. They bring him back, and he has some adventures. We have a set piece in a mall, right? Perfect for the late 80s, where everyone's running havoc in the mall, which is a lot of fun. Beethoven taking over the music store, and Genghis Khan in the sporting goods section. So, Billy the Kid firing his gun off in the mall. Probably not so funny these days. So that's one thing that probably doesn't land too well. But for the most part, it's a good-natured movie, good cast. Bernie Casey, I always like him. Plays a history teacher. He's good in the film, and just a fun movie, very late 80s with the music, with the styles, and its overall, I guess, the good time vibes of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Of course, there would be a sequel, came out a few years later, and then a sequel much later in 2020 would also come out. So these characters have continued to endear themselves. There was a cartoon series as well, which they've done. So so it's good 80s sci-fi comedy. a lot smarter maybe than it looks on the surface, and like I said, a fun way to maybe introduce a young person to historical figures through this kind of ridiculous way in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So yeah, I mean those are my main thoughts on it. There is some CGI in this film when they're time traveling through the phone lines or whatever, like some primitive internet, and that's one someone brought this up in a comment that as we get into the later 1980s, we start to see more CGI use, or filmmakers just starting to test what it can do with computer technology and special effects. But like I said, that's just a minor part of this film. So yeah, as they say in the film, party on, dudes. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.